Welcome to CCFR's Canada Downrange. Sport shooting is the most exciting and least covered sport in Canada. Come with us as we travel across our great nation to discover the coolest events, amazing locations, and the most interesting people. Today, Canada Downrange will head back to the Got Your Six charity shoot held at the Canadian Historical Arms Society range outside of Edmonton, Alberta. In our second segment, we will look in on a Calgary and District Shooters Association 3-gun match at their new Milo range located 120 kilometers southeast of Calgary, Alberta.
We're going to go through the safety briefing again quickly for those that were not here. Okay, the short version. These guys in red shirts and ladies are here for your safety. You will listen to them at all times. If we do have a serious incident or a serious injury, the first thing I want all of you to do without being told is to put all of your firearms away, unloaded, and store the cases in your vehicles as quickly as you can.
The GY6 is a charity event started in 2016 and is put on by two Canadian Armed Forces veterans, George Woodland and Tony Burton.
Okay, work with the ROs, and if we need any help, they will designate and give you something to do if we need the help.
After an alarming string of suicides from their regiment in 2015 that were directly related to PTSD and depression from combat operations in Afghanistan, they wanted to do something about it.
One of the ROs, who was it, brought one of his personal 50 cals and has welcomed all of you to try and shoot it. Desert Tech 50 cal.
Okay, so this part of your finger right here, the pad, is what you want to put on the trigger. So go ahead and do that. Okay, close this down. This hand, grab back there. Now you do want it in your shoulder as snug as possible. If you leave any space, it's going to jump back. And you don't want it to jump back. You want it to basically be already firmly bedded into your shoulder, okay?
The objectives of GY6 at this event are to raise awareness for PTSD problems and encourage those suffering to reach out and get the help they need and deserve. There were many first responders, veterans, and medical professionals on hand to raise awareness for this crippling affliction.
So my name is Zach Suter-Lucas. I'm the Training and Medical Officer for Armor on Safety, and here we're providing the medical coverage.
Big thing, and this is something that we found at some other events that we've done, when it comes down to it, we are going to make the call for 911.
So I'm a firefighter and paramedic, and then I do a lot of safety training and other things on the side. And this kind of just naturally developed out of the need for it. So this is one of the events that actually started the medical division of the company. We've actually been here since the get-go. So we've started, I believe this is the 3rd annual, so we started 2 years prior to this.
So I really appreciate it, but if we have 3, 4, 5, 10 different people calling 911, not only is it confusing for dispatch, but it really supersedes a lot of the stuff that we do here. So I super appreciate it. But let us make that decision for us, okay? Sound good? Awesome.
Yeah, so I've held my RPAL for about 4 years now. I have several pistols, I have a couple revolvers and rifles at home. It's a really interesting topic. I'd obviously be upset being someone who owns firearms and pro firearms in that regard. So yeah, that'd be the biggest thing I can say. It's not something I'm looking forward to. In fact, I'm a member with the CCFR as well, and it's something I'm hoping to actively help fight against.
I'm Sally. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm a part of the volunteer EMS team that's supporting Got Your Six. Well, actually, Zach, the owner and the guy who runs it, just very passionate about it, and I'm very passionate about PTSD. I work in psychiatry and in crisis stabilization, so I see a lot of the aftermath.
Clear your weapons! Release your ammo!
Honestly, like when I do talk about Got Your Six, I get the, like a PTSD event with guns, and I'm just like, yeah, most people are veterans who have PTSD. You can't split the two, but you can do it in a positive manner and support it, and have them have a place to go where they all meet and have a sense of community. I think it's a great idea. Take away something that they feel is a true part of them, and the aftermath is going to be a lot worse. Having events like this where they can come out and have a sense of community, that's the biggest thing that we see is isolation. Among people with PTSD, among people, veterans, they lose that sense of community. This kind of gives it back to them. It helps them have something to look forward to. It helps them have something to practice for. It just honestly, like, I don't see, and I wasn't pro-guns prior to about 6 months ago. So, and I honestly don't see anything wrong with it now. It's a good thing, yeah. It's honestly, have it, be safe about it, be sane about it, like, know what you're doing, know your laws, know your rules, and there shouldn't be a problem.
Remember, if you don't stand up for your own ability to own and use firearms, who will? Join the CCFR or donate right now at www.firearmrights.ca.
The 50 BMG is in the same location. Down at the far end, the mod tent is down, but if you go to the very end, you will probably hear them very quickly. So go over as your relays, stay together in a group, you'll get the briefing on both stages, and then you'll be split up to go to the 2 stages. I'm not dodging the look like. No, not that.
Time! Clear the weapons! Be ready, Mike. Be moving.
Otherwise, safety-wise, keep in mind your basic firearms handling skills. Watch your muzzle direction, keep your fingers off the trigger, listen to your ROs.
Don't hurt! Impact right! Impact left!
My name is Stuart Rosnicki. I'm part owner of War and Peace Corp, which is an up-and-coming store that we're opening up in Stony Plain, Alberta. I find that if my gun rights were taken away, it's a direct attack upon the people who are abiding the laws and actually buy their guns, are responsible with their firearms. Most of the firearms incidents that happen are from stolen weapons or weapons they've gotten illegally. People who take quite a bit of consideration towards the laws and what we have to do to protect our laws, we follow those rights and we follow everything that needs to be done. It's a great community that helps with it. You see everybody here who's willing to give a hand and represents us in a positive way.
Got Your Six is an annual event, and the organizers are looking to make it bigger and better next year, so look for it in 2019. Be sure to follow the Got Your Six Facebook page at facebook.com/GotYourSixShoot. And for any sponsorship inquiries, email Tony Burton at burton.tac@gmail.com.
For your pro tip today, I've got Graham Foote and I've got Ryan Stacy joining me. And we're going to talk about the most ridiculous, tiny issue, but probably the most controversial, and it is whether or not you look down the barrel to inspect the bore for obstructions. So I've heard some people say you never look down the barrel under any circumstances. I've heard instructors say that. But the fact of the matter is you can have squib loads, you can have obstructions in the barrel, and you actually, in my opinion, you have to look down there. So Ryan, having shot a gun or two in your life, in your career,
one or two. I absolutely agree that you have to look down the barrel. I think to say that you can't look down the barrel is kind of childish because we're all grown-ups and we should be able to unload the gun, make sure it's unloaded, and check the barrel for obstructions if you need to. Now, my background is I came from the film industry and the military, but in the film industry I was constantly looking down barrels because
from the muzzle end.
Because there's stuff inside the barrel to make it fire on blanks that you have to make sure is either not clogged up or still there altogether. So it is absolutely 100% imperative that you pay attention to what's in the bore as well. So I was always constantly looking down the muzzle at a flashlight, check, make sure there's nothing in there or that there was something in there.
Did anybody confront you about that ever?
Oh, lots of people. What are you
really?
doing, pointing a gun at your own face? It's unloaded, I made sure, and you know, it's part of my job.
Do you own a gun? No.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Never point that at your face. It's like,
awesome. Graham, have you, do you inspect the bore for obstructions by looking down the muzzle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't shoot pistol all that often, but in the event that I encounter a squib load or anything like that, I'm going to make the pistol safe and take a look down there just to make sure that it's safe to fire after that. I mean, unload it, clear it, should be good to go.
I think there's different ways you can do it too, right? Like for a rifle, there's not really much need to actually look down the muzzle. You can pull the bolt out and look through the bore from the back end of the gun. But pistols, you can't really do that. So, you know, if you have an issue or you, for some reason, you lawn dart the pistol into the ground, it's a good idea to make sure there's no obstructions in there.
Mm-hmm. And for rifles, with a semi-auto, you can't pull the bolt out like you can with a bolt action anyway. You have no choice but to look down there.
Yeah, I mean, with an AR, you could take it apart and do it.
Take the upper out.
Yeah, you could pull it apart, but yeah, I mean, with an AR, I probably would just crack it, pull the bolt out, and then take a quick bit through there. But there's nothing saying that you can't look down the muzzle as long as you've done your due diligence and made sure that it's unloaded and pulled it all apart. I mean, nothing can happen if the bolt is out of the gun. It's not going to fire accidentally. It's a steel. It's a piece of steel. So don't be silly.
And if, in case people don't know what kind of obstructions you can have in a barrel, I mean, excessive oil or grease can cause an obstruction. You can have mud. You can have ice forming inside the barrel.
Yep, for sure. And even in some high-end, tight actioned and tight chambered precision rifles, just having water in there can be an issue. I know guys that shoot F-class that are on the very edge of pressures, and if it rains and water gets in there, it can cause an overpressure in the gun, so they keep it completely dry. So you got to be super careful.
Excellent example.
Yep.
So hopefully that helps, and you enjoyed it, and hopefully that dispels some myths that you might have heard out there in the community. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Remember, if you don't stand up for your own ability to own and use firearms, who will? Join the CCFR or donate right now at www.firearmrights.ca.
Calgary and District Target Shooters Association is a target shooting club which has been in operation for over 30 years in the Calgary area. We are at the Milo Shooting Range, which offers rifle, handgun, shotgun, and archery ranges.
My name is Jordan Karst. I'm an operations manager in the oil and gas sector. Three gun, it's kind of a culmination of all the different disciplines going into one, and it's not really a static or linear sport. It's very dynamic. You have to think about what you're doing. Nobody ever comes into this knowing exactly how they're going to go through and run a stage. It requires a lot of thought to go through and do it. So that, and then it's a lot more physical. So it keeps you going, it keeps you more fit. You're running and you're doing a lot more physical activity on it.
Good. Oh, I got it. Three gun is a competitive test of skill, an obstacle course, and a day at the range all in one. A typical match includes 8 to 12 individual stages, each presenting 5 to 35 targets that must be hit in the shortest amount of time possible.
I actually started the three-gun program with CDTSA probably about 5 or 6 years ago. For CDTSA, we try to run 3 a year. Our matches are fairly large and resource intensive, so that's why we kind of have it somewhat limited. But overall, between all the locations, there's pretty much a three-gun match that's going on at least once a month.
Targets range from paper silhouettes at 5 yards to steel targets at much longer distances. The shooters have a wide array of obstacles to work around while firing their guns as accurately as possible.
I've personally been shooting for over 30 years. My parents actually opened one of the first indoor shooting ranges open for the public in Western Canada. So I've been doing it ever since I was a little kid. My life has pretty much been around it. I would be pretty heartbroken if we lost the sport.
Downrange is going hot.
To make things more interesting, courses typically feature walls, windows, and barrels for the shooters to navigate around. The number and type of these obstacles are limited only by the acreage and the match designer's imagination.
My name is Nicholas Louie from Calgary, Alberta. I'm a software engineer. I started shooting, my first three-gun match was in 2004 when I was a member of the Canadian Forces. There was an inter-service three-gun competition in CFP Edmonton, and that was my first competitive event that I've ever been to, and that got me hooked ever since, and that's been how I've been a nut about all forms of shooting. With my military background, it's just having the ability to safely operate in a dynamic function in AR-15 or a sporting rifle. I think a big part of it is that it's not just a matter of marksmanship, though that's a major component, but that there's a lot of technical considerations and there's a lot of strategy behind it as well.
If you're standing, like if you stop and just come off to the side, just get back on.
At the range in Milo, there are 160 acres to work with, which ensures endless possibilities for challenging stages, some of which require transitioning between pistol, rifle, and shotgun.
Shooting is absolutely, and not just shooting, but shooting but responsible gun ownership is a vital part of my identity. For me, I'm a proud Albertan, and gun ownership and competitive shooting is a tradition and a heritage that predates our province's membership in Canadian Confederation. And when I teach students, that's one of the first things I highlight, that we're not just doing something recreationally here. We are part of a grand and great culture and heritage, and us doing it is a preservation of that. To lose that, in my opinion, would be to lose one of the best parts of our culture.
One of the most exciting things about attending a 3-gun event is that the shooters have no previous knowledge of what the course will have in store for them.
First and foremost is safety, safety, safety. And these guys here, this is my first match with them, and they do a really good job with safety as well. And just a thanks to these guys here at Calgary District and Target Shooters Association. They do a great job. They run a great range, and if any of your audience is looking for a great place to shoot, I couldn't recommend them enough.
For more information about the competitions put on by the Calgary and District Target Shooters Association, please go to cdtsa.ca.